All right. Hey, everyone. Just waiting for Shruti to sign on and then we can get started.
Everyone, sorry for the delay.
Good morning. Hello.
Good morning. All right. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Looks like we have quorum, so we can go ahead and get rolling here. First thing on the agenda was from Shruti that we didn't get to last week, so I'll let you take it away,
So
Shruti.
may I request that the third item be looked at first because I need to drop halfway through?
Okay, I'm sorry, I must have missed that. Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
So Irfan, is he on the call? Yes. Okay.
Yes, I am. Yeah, hi.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, let's see. I'm on my phone over here, so I'm trying to figure out.
If you want, I can
Tariq,
share
are we
my
sharing
screen.
some?
Let me share my
Yes,
screen.
yes, please. Yeah.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Let me. Okay. Go ahead, Irfan.
So Tariq, you want to intro this, or yeah, shall we just go ahead and?
No, please go ahead and present, and then we can have a discussion Q&A if people are interested.
Right. So we'll walk you. Tin will walk you through this document. Basically, as you guys know, Open Air Interface team has been asked to take charge of some of the testing of Magma, and basically what we have done is we have compiled this document for your review. This is our proposal for how we want to proceed with the handover, so to speak, of the Magma testing and hosting of the facility here at Open Air Interface with the help of the team, Shubham and Tim and the Radisys colleagues. So Tin, could you please take us to the section where we have the different items lined up?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Walk us through that, please. Yeah.
So let me present you the proposal for the Magma testing framework at OAI and Eurocom. So we go through technical detail of the proposal, focusing on the list of the tasks, and then the milestone. Then maybe Irfan and Saga later can add the comment on the resource, on the management and CI/CD aspect. So in brief, this proposal, we propose to not only take charge of the maintaining the existing testing framework from Meta at OSA, but also extending it with the additional features for both 4G and 5G. We also try to cover some important but still missing point to further facilitate the adoption of Magma by the community members, such as containerization of Magma component with Docker and Kubernetes. So you can see here that in the document we first list all the tasks, then put them in 9 milestones spending in 2 years period. So let's take a close look at the list of the tasks. So the first group of the tasks, as you can see here, is that to maintain the existing testing framework with S1IB tester with the existing test cases, and then test the access gateway services with load testing for 4G, and then after that we extend the this, for example, with a federated integration test with a S1 IP tester. So as an open source software only framework, we would like to then use existing how to say open source run simulator, including OEI G0B and OEI UE to test with 4G and 5G NSA and SA. For SA, we also add the federated integration test to test Magma access gateway with OEI 5G core network components such as UDR, UDM, USS, and NIF via federation gateway. Then we also plan to, you see here that we plan to implement a new open source framework, which include a 5G core network tester. This new open source 5G core network tester is 5G counterpart for S1 IP tester. So it's a part of an extensive framework and can provide a wide range of test cases to test not only the basic procedure with multiple UE and multiple PDU section in the loop to more advanced scenario, for example, handover, paging, timer handling, or something like that. We also plan to support negative testing. You can find in more detail this into the milestone. We also plan to support the negative testing scenario, at least to cover the scenario described in the NGAP and NAT specification. For us, supporting negative testing is very important to guarantee the quality of the code base, and also we provide the PCAP and log for debugging purpose. Of course, we also provide all the document related to the implementation, testing, and deployment, so that the community member can replicate easily. And then the testing framework can also be expanded to test with, for example, minimum of 100 UE at the same time with simple uplink and downlink traffic. Then, as mentioned earlier, we have another group of tasks focusing on the deployment of Magma component. First, to maintain the packages and OS dependencies of the current deployment framework, but also to add a support for Docker and Kubernetes, for example. And we also maintain the automated testing of the recommended deployment scenario environment, with the bare-metal and public cloud environment. And finally, we plan to maintain and extend CI and CD framework to accommodate the new testing scenario and expand the test to pre-commit pipeline. And finally, we also try to port all the Magma ecosystem, Magma component into ARM architecture with a container. And then we can see, you can see here.
Tim, maybe we can pause over here and take any questions if there are any.
Okay, no problem. Because you see that the milestone is basically we put all the tests or the tasks into the milestone. So it's basically all we have here, the list of the tasks. So please go ahead.
Yeah, Tin and Irfan, I'm going from ARM. So I see a bullet there to support ARM CI there. So so this is something new you are going to work, or you have already started working on extending the capability?
Actually, maybe do we have
so let me explain this. So a good question. This is going to be kind of transferring the ownership of the test framework and CI/CD framework to OAI team. And part of that, I think one of the items we have on this list is, we currently use the S1 AP tester using on the x86 setup on CI. So maybe part of this effort as well, they do it for both x86 and ARM. So this work is a proposal. None of this have been done yet. So it's just a proposal, and it's going to be over the next couple of years.
Right.
And also I want to add here that we at Eurocom we are also working to port Gnode, our OAI Gnode B and our OAI core network to ARM. So to take benefit of that, we can also try to bring also the Magma component into ARM also.
Yeah. So as of now, we are focusing on Magma AGW component, right? So so going forward, we can extend the OAI Gnode B and Gnode B is also to run on ARM architecture. Yeah, I agree. But we would like to prioritize Magma AGW's S1AP test cases. Me and Shubham, we are working to run the containerized ARM currently, and we have to bring up some pass some basic sanity test. We can have more discussion around this topic. So we would like to prioritize. So this proposal looks good from ARM point of view.
Okay, thank you. In this case, we need help from you at least to start with the port access gateway to the ARM component. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And then another question.
Then from the community perspective, so during the transition, we have the Magma CI dashboard that would continue to run as part of this transition, right? You will still be reporting test results on every commit to the master.
You mean during the transition period, right?
Yes.
So, Shruti, I believe on that, we want to make this as smooth a transition as possible. So yes, during this period, everything that is up and running already will remain like that, and little by little we'll port it over to our framework over here. So yes, I mean all that will stay the way it is, and we are expecting support from the existing owners to facilitate that transition.
Yeah, just one thing here. When we were discussing this proposal with OAI team, the focus is, I mean, we're gonna kind of maintain software only, open source based testing systems. We are gonna phase out all hardware testing as a kind of community driven effort, and hardware testing is going to be conducted by distributors of the code or owners of a product. But as going forward, as this proposal kind of puts in place, it's all software based, and all software that's going to be used is going to be license free, so that anyone can grab this test system and deploy it. Now for the dashboard and CI automation, that's part of the CI automation, which is all test results will be published to the CI dashboard, and that should continue to be the case.
Sounds good.
So just a question on the test coverage. So I can find S1AP test. So what is the equivalent of real data plane test like GTPU traffic test? So are we covering that here?
Yeah, you mean in the new 5G test, right?
Yeah, 5G as well as the 4G, the real GTPU traffic test.
Yep.
So,
For the 5G part, we would like to also test this, but only with the very basic. For example, with a traffic generator, but for the uplink and downlink. But for example, you can use iPub traffic generator with a UDP and TCP and ICMP, or very basic. We don't how to say focus on the traffic test or load test for the moment.
okay.
So S1 AP test already implements few traffic tests as well. So we do have a traffic. we bring up a traffic VM that simulates, a traffic kind of simulator.
Yeah, that's more towards using SCTP based traffic, and there is another set of traffic tests based on GDPU protocol.
Good. Both
Yeah.
are covered. The
Both are covered.
and S1 tested, both are covered.
I see. Okay. And yeah, I have a few questions on the milestones. Yeah, once you discuss that, we can talk about it.
Okay, so any question about the task list? If not, we can go through very quickly to the milestone. The idea is to distribute the task into the milestone, but I don't want to go through all of them. But you see that the first important one is the milestone 1 at the end of June 2022. That means at this point in time, we transfer the Magma CI testing framework from Meta to OSI. And then you see the couple of next milestone to add to test with OAI G-Node B, to test with the federated integration test with S1 AP tester, and then open source run simulator as well. And then the next important one is to the first release of the new 5G tester. So for the first release, we just cover some very basic procedure, connection and registration, or establish the PDU section with a very simple traffic, just for example, just ICMP or UDP, TCP, and then we also support the PCAP capture and the log for debugging purpose. And then you see in the second release for the milestone 5, we continue to add some more advanced scenario, for example, registration attached related issue, such as for authentication and security algorithm, and also we test with multiple UE with registration section and release in the loop or something like that. And also we have the milestone number 6, in which we try to implement the set of the GTP core at the access gateway and also the orchestrator to integrate some third-party core network component with the Magma via the Federation Gateway. And then in the milestone 7, we have the third release for the 5G testing framework. In this release, we have add some more advanced feature, for example, registration derivation in the loop with multiple UE, mobility, paging, or timer handling. And then the most important one is negative testing, as I mentioned earlier. And then we have the last one is milestone number 9. At the end, we have everything working. So, and then we also, in the document, you can find some information about the budget, about the financial ask, and also some operational support. So that's all from me. But maybe if Fan or Saga, if you want, you can add something here. And after that, we can start the discussion.
Let's take questions, if any.
Okay. So Irfan, how are you prioritizing the ARMs, enabling Magma on ARM? So on milestone 1, so we prefer the enablement of ARM in milestone 1 itself, because we don't want to miss out features not getting tested on ARM architecture. So it's good to prioritize enablement of ARM as part of milestone 1.
So I think that's work in parallel that you guys are doing with Shubham and Arun. I think once that lands, it's going to be part of the existing framework that they will be kind of maintaining. So I think for the first phase, this is kind of a transfer of ownership phase. But I think since we're already kind of there's already an engagement between ARM and Shubham and Arun and myself. hopefully that becomes comes online and gets integrated with CI and becomes part of this migration.
Okay. Yeah. So that's good to know that we can parallelly enable this before or by the end of June. Yeah, sounds good. Thanks.
Thanks.
I have just like a general process question. Is this doc in the GitHub proposals list? This looks like a Google doc, not a markdown. Where does this live?
That's a good question, Joey. I think it should be transferred into a proposal on GitHub. You know, there has been some back and forth between OAI and some of us who looked at the early version of this. So maybe it's now in a good enough state that it could be moved to GitHub at this point, and we can collect more feedback from the community there.
I guess on that note, I wanted to raise a motion to modify the process of the grant submission process. Like, we don't really need to submit a PR which is merged into repository before the proposal is reviewed. So going forward, if most of the discussion, everybody is using a Google Doc for coming up with the first draft of the proposal, we can just link it into a GitHub issue on the grants repository and start discussion there, instead of having raising a PR and merging it into the repository. I think that would be a smoother process. I can document that and bring it to the TSC in the upcoming meetings. But for the purpose of this proposal, could we just use that, link the Google Doc into a GitHub issue and just paste the important part or once it is discussed by the code owner, sponsor, and everyone, just link it on the GitHub issue so that folks can read from there.
Yeah, sounds good. So Tin or Irfan, do you want to take action on this? Kind of create a GitHub issue and link this document there and just label the issue as a proposal.
Okay, we can do that later. Thanks, Tarek.
Yeah. Hi, this is Yogesh here. Just a question on the milestone 3, the open source RAN simulators. Like so will it be part of the CD framework, or like how is it? Because like for now we are also have integrated GNB SIM, GNB OAI UE with Magma. So is it going to be part of the CI framework, or like how is it going to be?
I would say for me, the main issue with, for example, UE RAMSIM, GNB SIM, or my 5G RAN tester is that they are quite limited in feature. Many definitely just one attach and that's it, and one mirror and pretty much it. Whereas currently the OAI stuff we are already into slicing and stuff like that. So I think it might be good for people that want to test with something that is lightweight, but I don't think it's good to to have in CI. I mean, all of them, because they don't bring much to each. I mean, the difference between all these 3 open source simulator is not that much, and I think if we test, so we just pick one or. And maybe one will be in CI, but we could have examples for the others. But I don't think we should have all of them in CI.
Okay. Yeah, that reason was because we already using these simulators in our lab, so just wanted to check on that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I think if you are using one, that's maybe the one we should pick, in fact.
Yeah, the challenge was meaning all these simulators have some or the other bugs. So, So I think
That's also another good point. Yeah, they are not bug free. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
UE ransom also seems to be good, but again, then small bugs, we have to put either hack or do something to fix it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I agree with you that at Eurocom also, at OSI also, we have to do some small bug for that. And also you see that the thing is UE run sim, G-Node sim, and my 5G run tester is you cannot test some advanced feature. You only test very basic scenario, attach, detach, and establish the PDU section, right? And then that is the reason we come up with our proposal for the new 5G open source, which is support to do much more than that, you see. And also most important one is negative testing. We want to support.
Okay, got it. Then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to drop. So Shruti, what's the next step here for the team?
So I think for the authors, as Joey asked, please put it on a GitHub issue, and we would require the TSC members to review it. Let's give us a week for everyone to go through it and have comments, and then come up with a recommendation for the governing board.
Okay, sounds good.
I had a non-technical question here on the operational support. Is the ask from Radis's team of 4 engineers, is that for the 2 years? Is that something that needs to be discussed with the governing board? Tariq?
So yeah, I think this. I think anything beyond this year in terms of support from. So we envision both teams, kind of from Radisys and from DevOps, to continue to support Magma going forward, even beyond this year. So I think we can, but I agree with you. Putting that in the document here makes it a little bit.
It's not a technical component, but yeah, it's something.
Yeah, I agree
somebody
with you.
needs to.
And there's a financial part which was
Right.
redacted here that is for the board to review. So I think
Sure.
the bottom 2 here are for the board to review.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you guys for listening, and thanks for reviewing this today.
Right,
Take care.
One last question. So so there is no performance test added as part of this proposal, right? It's only the functional test that we are planning.
Yeah, of course, we would like to do that, but in our proposal, let's put the first one is a functional, and then if we have time or we have, for example, at the end of 2 years, we can also plan to do some more feature for our new tester. But at least,
also performance could be dependent on the hardware you are running on, and that's pretty much something that was out of the picture.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so are we planning to
it's-
come up with some framework so that people can hook up different hardware and publish the performance results on the Magma dashboard?
That could be a way of doing it, is to have a multi-UI, traffic generator scenario that can be modified for people to test on their platform. Yeah, that could be certainly the good solution. But I don't think it's gonna should be part of the CI. As Tariq mentioned, it should be a full software solution and not rely on a choice on the testing hardware.
Right.
Especially if it's running on GitHub Actions, then you're gonna have to specify on which kind of server that you are running. It's gonna be
Okay.
Yeah. But of course, we will take this question into account when designing this tester, so that it will be flexible enough to accommodate the new feature or new requirement later.
Right. Yeah, so Magma AGW hardware, different vendors can come up with their own hardware, but in terms of traffic generators, whether Magma project is going to provide that, or the vendor who is going to test, they have to hook up their own traffic generator for performance testing. So those kind of infrastructure questions, it's good to discuss that.
Yeah, so Govind, we in a per release note or every quarterly, we from the Wavelab side, we generate some performance report. Maybe I can share you with that. It can be a starting point. We can see how we can improve it. Yeah.
Okay, so we can do that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
So any more questions? If not, I can stop sharing, right? And then we can continue with the agenda.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, then we can move to the rest of our agenda. Shruti, do you want to go through your C++ proposal?
Yes, I can start sharing my screen. Let's increase that. Is this visible?
Yes.
Okay. So I think the TSC at some point in the past looked at the large proposal of the MME service migration of MME to C++. We have a lot of legacy code there from which is mix of C and C++. So the current, which is already approved and merged, and the goal of this proposal was to focus on the implementation of the state management within the MME service and break that down in subtasks for developers to pick up on both the 4G and the 5G side. So currently the MME service maintains the per UE and per task state into a, and the way it is done is it's maintained in memory through hash tables, in which in the 4G core side is an in-house library, like it's part of the repository. On the 5G side, it uses the std unordered map. And this in-memory state is periodically written to the Redis database as key value pairs. There are, over the course of time, we've observed a few performance issues here, like the hash tables implementation is inefficient in terms of memory management, the leaks sometimes, and just the wrapper around that, maintaining that. It's also because we are doing the constant migration from disk to in memory because of the tying between the C and C++, the proto-generated code and the proto-generated objects are in the C++, but then they have to be converted into a C structs to be compatible with the legacy code. We also have some bandages around, the keys. We use the GUI structure as a key, but which is not supported by the protobuf map. So we have to do that conversion regularly. And this all adds up to the performance. So if you look at previous scale test results, and even another issue where I'm tracking memory consumption, if you turn off the stateless feature, the performance is way better. And so this comes up with an overhead. So with the goal of improving the performance of MME, and just to complete the list, there is also some inefficiencies in the way we are managing the task level state. We have a few hash tables bundled together. So if you want to update one of them on the disk, you have to unwrite the whole thing. So in terms of improving that performance, the proposal lists a few things on the hash table improvements, where we say, okay, instead of using the whole GUI structure as a key, we can simplify and use a string and use that string as the key. And this would require changes throughout the code base wherever the GUI is being used. So this is a task in itself. Even converting, because we already have the protobuf structures which we use to serialize and deserialize the state to write on Redis. Can we leverage the same protobuf library generated code and use the protobuf maps, so we don't have to do this conversion from one implementation of maps to another implementation of maps? This is right now on the 5G side, but also eventually on the 4G side, we want to replace the hash table OAI library that we have in the code base with the STD library, and that so that we have it's consistent across the entire service implementation. Then we want to get rid of the C to C++ conversions and just use the proto-generated C++ objects everywhere. We also, to address this issue number 5, where we have MME app task state, which bundles like 4 hash tables and writes them as a blob. We can split them into 4 separate keys and use that so to improve the write performance. And if we get rid of some of these dependencies, we can also get rid of these API wrappers, which are implemented in the form of state managers and state converters, which every thread in the service, every task in the service has its own state manager, which is responsible, which is kind of the API between the C and C++ code. And so getting rid of that logic would also improve the performance. So these are some of the things that I've listed here. I know it's the goal is to have this parent proposal track some of these issues. And if you go into these individual issues, they can be targeted in this order to solve out the dependency, and they can be targeted separately for each task, in my opinion. Like look at the NAST, the SB gateway task, the S1 AP task, and the AMF task, so they can be handled in separation. But this is just a proposal to move to a C++ only world for the MME service. I'll pause here to take questions, and we can click on these if folks have questions around individual items.
I have a question, like, did we ever had a plan to move our infra from like C++ to Golang for access gateway side?
So I was about to ask the same question. I know that Mark Jen started the discussion, and that discussion may have gone in different directions. Is this proposal a replacement, and it's saying, okay, we're going to convert to clean just D++, and we're not going to put the effort to go towards Go?
So I think the Golang effort it's not in progress at the moment. No owner there at the moment. It's still, if I were to scope it out, it's a complete rewrite of the service, while this proposal is focusing on an improvement on the existing code base. Because if you look at the existing, like we have made a conscious effort that any new code that we add it in C++, but there's a lot of legacy which we never got to rewrite. And considering that we already have a integration testing and a unit testing framework set up around the current code base, this is an extension of the current code versus a complete rewrite of the service. So just in terms of feasibility and stability, I think this effort would be is a lower hanging fruit and a bigger return on investment at the moment than having a complete rewrite of the service. And I would, and in parallel, I would like to check on, I know there was some discussion which I've not followed around what's portable to ARM, and Govind, if you have any comments there.
Sorry, Shruti, so what is the ARM question here?
So I was saying, how has been your, like, with the purpose of whether using Golang versus C++, is there any preference from the ARM community in terms of portability to ARM architecture? I don't know if you considered that at any point.
I mean, if you have any specific questions, I can check with the compiler team and get back, Shruti.
Okay. Nothing in specific. I think I vaguely remember when we were discussing about moving some of the access gateway services to Go. There was some pushback on a separate thread. So
okay,
yeah, but I don't remember the context at the moment. But yeah, but for the purpose of this proposal, the ask is just it's a purely performance-driven proposal. What can we do to improve the stability of the current implementation?
I see.
Yeah, and then it's good. And I think in terms of for the ARM, C has more stable, C++ has more stable builds as compared to Go, because Go have recently started supporting ARM like few years back, but C++ is there for like long.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Shivam. Any other questions?
I didn't see timetables for these tasks.
So this was not a grant proposal, so I didn't follow that template here. It was just a technical proposal to
So
get
that people will pick these tasks and will do these tasks on their own, and we will close one by one.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I think the Radisys team has started looking into some of these efforts for the 4G side. And I believe they would start, they can start working on that soon. So if there are no more questions, we could vote on it right away, since this is just a proposal on the technical side. So Kendall, can I start the motion, or somebody else should? Okay.
You can start it, yep.
Okay, so just a motion to approve the proposal.
Is there any second?
So can you repeat what you said, Kendall?
Yeah, will somebody second the motion?
Oh yeah, of course.
All right. Okay, all voting members, if you choose to approve this proposal, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstains? All right, great. The motion carries them.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. So we have about 15 minutes left, and we have one more agenda item from Eli and Lucas.
Hello, thank you for this time.
Hey, Lucas.
I will share screen on the list of disclosures. So the work at hand is to review the disclosure list and kind of draw the TSC and the leadership as a whole into the process of prioritizing these and getting them assigned.
Lucas, the link which you have attached is private, so will you share? Okay.
But also, if you send me your user information, I will add you to that repo, because you probably, basically anybody in leadership should have access to that.
Yeah.
What you're seeing here is, and actually before I start, Eli, do you want to add anything before I start?
Sure, yeah. I think based on our conversation last week, we basically wanted to start using the TSC as an opportunity to provide a little visibility to our to major contributors around the vulnerabilities that we have, so that we can start driving them down. So the first element in being able to do that is to categorize them in an issue tracker, which is what has happened here. And I think Lucas wanted to walk through some of them, and we would describe our plan to drive them down to 0, ideally. So yeah, go for it.
Okay. So as Eli says, there are too many for us to triage right now, and this probably isn't the right forum to go through every single one, although I'm interested in feedback on that. What you're going to see, the bulk of it are from this old review with the addition of one new item. In this window that I'm sharing, these tabs reflect individual disclosures that have been turned into issues, and they are roughly in priority order from left to right. To begin with, we have this open SSH 2.3 item, which was reported by a third-party security researcher last week. This person, Garang, is a independent researcher who reports vulnerabilities to a number of projects. And so this is very much a live and real disclosure. The substance of this report is that a attacker can serially query for usernames. And this is in Artifactory, as Shivam pointed out last week on Slack. And the fix is to configure the firewall to limit incoming SSH connections. The topics for the community to review are validating the severity of this, and how soon we want to ship a fix, and then potentially assigning a resource to own it. I open the floor.
Yeah, so first security fix, I suggested that we should only allow specific developers IP who actually need to SSH. That is one thing. But yeah, Lucas can suggest better, or anyone else from the team.
So in terms of targeting each of these, I believe, like in terms of process, I know the security team would get disclosures for across all the components. For any of these issues which are which don't have to be confidential, does it make sense to create an issue on the main Magma repository and assign it to the code owner of that component? Like in this particular case, would it be an issue on the Magma repository assigned to the DevOps folks? Would that make sense? Like Shubham, for you in this particular case?
So what I think that this security repo is actually not public for everyone. If we are creating issues here, those are tricky that we want community to be aware of it, but not everyone should be able to see and start, let's say, hacking the thing. So I think this is the right place for security related stuff. But Lucas, what do you suggest?
I see both sides of the issue. I think that if issues are in this other repo, then they're less convenient to track. Like, for example, your notification in your personal GitHub inbox looks different. And at the same time, for something that's a disclosure, having it be visible to the public is an invitation to an attacker and would be particularly sensitive. So these items I probably would keep in the access controlled repo. But I don't feel strongly. I want to have this be open to the community.
So if, let's say, we have a security public repo, so everyone can actually see all the vulnerabilities that we have, and they can see, okay, if we have fixed them or not. So I think this should be private.
I believe it depends on the severity of the issue. Like this one, yes, I agree, is a potential hack. I believe there are others on the list which were more around good practices on using popular functions, popular C functions, and using them with the best practices. Those can be translated, but some of these, yes, I agree. We don't want to invite the hackers to exploit the vulnerabilities.
How about if we say, as part of triage, we identify whether an item should be in the public repo?
Yeah, that would make sense.
So regarding this particular item, if we should decide on the severity, reach consensus on the severity and on who should be the owner.
Actually, right now, only Tim have the access to SSH to this particular repo. So if we have to fix it, he can fix it. Yes.
Would we prioritize this for Tim, or what would his priority be?
So yeah, we can prioritize, but we have to actually write the action item, what needs to be done.
Who should own that writing of the action item? Here's the mitigation.
Okay.
So it seems to me we can check this item off, researching engineering solutions. I don't think this calls for an advisory, which adds a lot of bureaucracy. But it probably does call for talking to Tim about it. Is there agreement on that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who should own the Tim conversation? I'm happy to do it, but I'm not sure I'm the best resource.
Yeah, I can do it. You can also assign me and Tim, so we both can work on this together.
I'm sorry, my Slack didn't show me who that was. Was that Shivam?
Yes.
Okay. We're about out of time. Let me add just one more item. Well, we'll see how we get done. So I have prioritized these remaining items from the NCC report. This is a report that was commissioned by Facebook. Actually, before I go on, Eli, you're good with where we stand there?
Yep, exactly. I think it's definitely something that is in Tim's alley. So yeah, let's go for it.
Cool. So 4 years ago, Magma project commissioned a security audit, and they came up with these findings, and we've converted these into issues. That's what most of the remaining items are. In fact, all of the remaining items are from that list. So they're old, and that means they've been known for a while, and they probably aren't that high priority.
Are they still valid, considering these are 4 years old?
Good question. They probably need to be validated. So we don't even know if they're still real, and probably somebody has to look and verify.
Yep, part of intake is going to be validating that there's still an issue. Having looked through some of them, there are cases where partial mitigations have taken place. But yes, we're sort of treating this as a blank slate because these have now been intaked into Magma, and thus it's as if Magma as a project is looking at it for the first time, having been disclosed to from Facebook.
So who should own the validation? I'll tell you, to my mind, this probably is the most severe of the items NCC found.
Yeah, so I think there's 2 tickets on that one, if I remember. I know the TNG folks were looking at, I believe, that issue, but I'm wondering whether or not we have 2 issues for the same disclosure. Let me dig into that and see if I can link them.
And if that's already in TNG's queue, then that means that they're the natural owners.
Lucas, you were showing some document called NCC group, which was listing all the security issues. Can you show that again, please?
Yes, let me share.
Yeah, this one, yeah.
I will put this in the chat.
Yeah. So, so the one that you're currently discussing, so are the high risk items, is it?
Yes, that's right.
And the second one, EPC and backhaul data unencrypted. So that means we want to have some IPsec tunnel between the G node B and the gateways.
Correct. And there needs to be an evaluation of whether that's even possible. And secondly, whether there really is confidential data going over a unencrypted path.
I mean, we've seen from larger operators that we're working with that it's pretty common practice, even in controlled operator deployments, to have an IPsec connection from the, to the EPC.
Yeah, IPsec is the common use case. Yeah.
So, so that means that we're failing to apply a best practice, which validates the overall design guideline. We're out of time, and I wonder, is there a natural owner for this?
Yeah. I mean, this is part of the spec itself. I think we have to evaluate the feasibility around it to take the final call. Like scenarios like fragmentation, MTO, and other things also, performance. I think everything will come as part of it.
Yeah, this needs to be supported by OVS. The IPsec support from OVS side, and whichever data plane entity on the G node B side.
Yeah, correct. So like a bigger Yeah.
So which person would be probably the code owner for that component?
I guess it should be the person who owns the data plane. I think Praveen works on the OVS, I think. That's my guess. Shruti can comment.
That's right. And we would have Praveen or from Wavelabs, Yogesh,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Is this your right username, Yogesh?
That's correct.
I will add you two as owners, and I guess reach out on Slack to make sure you have whatever you need.
Sure.
And I propose we consider this work complete for the week and continue next week.
I can be a reviewer for that particular item, Lucas. So if there is an option, I want to be part of that review. M. Govind.
I'm sorry, I don't
Yeah.
know.
M. Govind. I'm just putting in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, M-Govind, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll grab it out of the chat. And I will add you as a reviewer.
Yep.
I guess that's it. And we'll follow up next week if everybody is in agreement. And Joey, I will add you to the repo. Once I add you to the repo, you'll be able to see that link. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.